There are cases that go cold, and then there are cases that refuse to. This one did something worse. It waited. In 1987, in a quiet industrial town where the factories hummed louder than the wind, a local teacher named Daniel Harlow vanished without explanation. No signs of struggle, no forced entry, no witnesses, just a half-finished jigsaw puzzle left on his dining table. 500 pieces, all but one placed. The police cataloged the scene carefully. They photographed the room, the puzzle, the chair pushed slightly back as though someone had just stood up. The final missing piece was never found. At the time, it meant nothing. Just a domestic detail in a growing file of unanswered questions. Years passed. The factory closed. The town thinned. Daniel Harlow became a name mentioned only when someone needed an example of the one that got away. Until 2022, when the house was sold. The new owner intended to renovate, rip out the carpets, tear down old wallpaper, modernize the kitchen. But before the work began, she documented everything, room by room, for insurance, for records, for closure. She filmed the dining room last. The puzzle was still there, under dust, undisturbed, all but one piece missing. The footage she recorded that day would later circulate online, not because of what she saw, but because of what she didn't. 3 nights after she moved in, a motion alert triggered from the dining room camera. 3:17 a.m. She assumed it was a moth, or a shifting light from passing cars. But the camera had been placed carefully. There were no windows facing the street, no pets, no drafts. The footage shows the table, the puzzle, still incomplete. For 12 seconds, nothing moves. Then, the puzzle shifts. Not violently, not dramatically. One small section near the top corner, as though something pressed down from above. No shadow, no hand, no visible cause. Just a subtle adjustment, like a correction. She froze the frame, zoomed in, and that's when she noticed something no one had seen in 35 years. The empty space where the final piece should be wasn't empty, not entirely. There was an outline, faint, barely perceptible, as if something had rested there for decades and left behind a trace. She did what anyone does now. She posted the footage. It spread, quietly at first. Forums, cold case threads, old newspaper scans resurfaced, and that's when someone found it. An archived crime scene photograph from 1987, taken at an angle no one had paid attention to before. In the corner of the image, barely visible under the edge of the dining table, was a shape, cardboard, irregular, puzzle-shaped. The missing piece had never left the wall. It had fallen, had been overlooked. Police returned, this time with modern equipment. They lifted the old flooring. Beneath a warped floorboard near the table, they found it, the final piece, wedged in darkness. But that isn't the part that unsettled them. It's what was printed on the puzzle. The image, the completed puzzle depicted a pastoral landscape, rolling hills, a farmhouse, a narrow dirt road, and in the distance, a figure standing near a tree, so small you could almost miss it. When they inserted the recovered piece, the image became whole, and the figure's face, once obscured, became visible, clear, recognizable, documented in yearbooks, newspaper clippings, school faculty photos. It was Daniel Harlow, standing in the distance, looking directly outward, toward whoever completed the puzzle. The image had been manufactured in 1978, stock artwork, mass-produced, no known custom prints. And yet, there he was, in a puzzle bought nearly a decade before he vanished. Skeptics argue coincidence, pareidolia, pixel interpretation errors. But forensic analysts confirmed the facial structure line. It matched archival photographs. Too closely, the house was sealed again, not as a crime scene, but as evidence. And then came the second motion alert. From inside the evidence storage facility, 3:17 a.m. The camera showed the puzzle laid out on a metal table. Complete, perfect, still, for 14 seconds. Nothing happened. Then, final piece lifted, just slightly, enough to break alignment, and settle back down, as if disturbed by an unseen breath. The timestamp glitched. 3 hours and 17 minutes. 3 hours and 17 minutes. 3 hours and 17 minutes. Looping for exactly 1 minute. After that night, no further activity was recorded, but the case file was reopened. Not because they believed in ghosts, but because something undeniable had happened. The missing piece hadn't solved the mystery. It had reframed it. Daniel Harlow had vanished in 1987, but somehow, a puzzle made years earlier had anticipated his disappearance, or memorialized it, or documented it before it happened. There are those who say the mind sees what it wants. That grief reshapes patterns. That coincidence is powerful. But ask the technicians who reviewed the footage. Ask the archivist who enhanced the face. Ask the officer who inserted that final piece. They will tell you the same thing. The room felt occupied. Not haunted, occupied, as though something unfinished had finally been acknowledged. The puzzle now sits in control storage, completed, sealed, but no one leaves it alone for long, because there's one detail people rarely mention. In the reflection of the glass casing, if you stand at the right angle, you don't just see the puzzle, you see the road in the image, extending slightly further than it should, as though it continues beyond the frame. And sometimes, just sometimes, there appears to be someone standing on it, further back than before, waiting, because some puzzles are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be finished. And when they are, something else begins.